Jai Hind. Okay students, today we will start with one more new video, that is nutrition in animals. In the life process itself only we will study about the nutrition in animals. Okay. First we will see the nutrition in amoeba. You know, already we have studied the types of nutrition, that is autotrophic mode of nutrition, heterotrophic mode of nutrition. So today we will study about the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. In that mode of nutrition, in that you know that already we have studied saprophytes. Saprophytes means organisms which feed on dead and decaying material. Okay. Example, fungi and some bacteria. And second one is parasitic mode of nutrition. Parasite means what? Parasite on or in. So that means a living organisms which live on another living organism or live inside the another living organism, that is called as, for the nutrition purpose I am telling you, that is called as parasitic mode of nutrition. For example, a lysis on the head, you know that is a ectoparasite. On the body, on the living organism or on the host, it will live and sucks the blood or takes its nutrition. That is called as ectoparasite. Okay. And endoparasite, you know that so many microorganisms like E. coli are present in our small intestine, in the colon itself. Those are all endoparasites. Even roundworms, tapeworms, these are all which are we can see in the vertebrates, especially in the digestive system of vertebrates. Those are all endoparasites. Okay. So parasitic mode of nutrition followed by these type of organisms, leech, it may be ticks, it may be lysis, it may be worms, it may be microorganisms. These are all following the parasitic mode of nutrition. Okay. All right. So finally we will move on to the holozoic mode of nutrition as we discussed in the first part of this lesson. Okay. So holozoic mode of nutrition means a whole food, a complex food will be taken by the organisms, that is called as holozoic mode of nutrition. In that mode of nutrition we will see 5 steps: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. These all things we have discussed already in the first part. Okay. Right now, so first we will see the heterotrophic mode of nutrition by the organisms like vertebrates, it may be, or some other unicellular organisms, it may be. We will see all those things. Before that, the organisms which will swallow, which will take the food, different types of food organisms will take. For example, there are some animals or some organisms which will take only plants as a food. So those organisms are called as herbivorous. And there are some organisms, example, you know that all the flesh eating like a tiger, lion, cheetah, these are all flesh eating organisms or animals. Those animals we call them are the carnivorous. If you take a man as an example for another type of nutrition, that is omnivorous, you know, a man used to take a plant as a food as well as flesh or a meat as a food. That's why a man belongs to the third category, that is omnivorous. Okay. All right. So first we will see this type of mode of nutrition in amoeba. You know that amoeba is having a irregular shape. Am I right? Yes, it is having a irregular shape. Simply, if it find any food near to it, it will sense it and it will localize it and develops its pseudopod towards it. Pseudopod towards it. These are the pseudopods. Pseudopod means false foot. Okay. So develops towards it and makes a cup like structure. See here, it makes a cup like structure. Okay, then simply this will be, the food will be, you know, engulfed by this and forming a food vacuole in that, and this is nucleus, you know that, cytoplasm. This is the engulfed food, or you know, ingestion food. That means like this it will intake the food. Okay. So now this food vacuole, what is this? This is the food vacuole, which is having all the digestive enzymes in it. So that food vacuole will help in the digestion of this complex food. Okay. So now one word I want to discuss here, what is that? Digestion. Digestion means what? It is the process where a complex food is converted into simple absorbable form. That process is called as digestion. A same procedure is going on in the amoeba itself only. Okay. So the food vacuole is producing digestive enzymes which helps in the conversion of complex food into simpler one. And the simplest food, see here, after that simplest food will be supplied to the cytoplasm of amoeba, and we call this as a absorption. Here ingestion, here the digestion is going on, then the absorption, then the absorbed food will be made use by the amoeba for its metabolic activity. That is called as assimilation. See, all the 4 steps are over. So finally the undigested food will be thrown out by the amoeba, that is called as egestion. Understood? Such a simple method you can find in the amoeba digestion or amoeba nutrition. Okay, like this. Some other unicellular organisms like Euglena also will follow the same procedure. Understood? So this is how a amoeba will get its nutrients. Okay, amoeba is also following all the 5 steps, that is ingestion, digestion, absorption and assimilation, then egestion. Like this, all the 5 steps it is also following, and hence we call this type of nutrition is called as heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Okay, right. So let us move on to the human being now. Let us move on to the human being. How human being is going to get his nutrients? Okay, so or how a man is going to get his nutrients? Okay, you know that we will take a complex food. Complex food in the sense you know that carbohydrates we will take, fat we will take to get the energy. Okay, totally the nutrients in the food, we classify the food as a 2 parts, macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients means a body need those nutrients in a bigger quantity, in a larger quantity, whereas micronutrients are in a lesser quantity, body need them. Okay. So macronutrients, name the macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Then what is the use of carbohydrates and fats to the man? Simply they provide the energy to us. Okay, that's why we need a carbohydrates and fats in a major quantity. And proteins, we need to build our body, we need to get the muscles, right? So we need to get so many biomolecules like DNA, it may be enzymes, it may be hormones, it may be. That's why we need the protein in a major quantity. Even to repair the damaged tissues and wounds, we need the proteins. That's why carbohydrates, fats and proteins are the macronutrients, we need it in the major quantity. Okay. And the next one is micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. Even you can take the water as well as the roughage, those are also in some books they have added into the food constituents only, whereas these two, especially the vital amines, you know that there are A, B, C, D, E, K, 6 major vital amines or vitamins are there, okay, which helps in preventing so many disorders like blindness, it may be beriberi, it may be scurvy, it may be rickets, it may be boosting of immune system, it may be coagulation of blood, it may be. These are all, you know, controlled by the vital amines, vitamins. Okay. So, in detail about these things you will learn it in the higher class, as well as you have already studied in the lower grade also about these vitamins, about these carbohydrates, fats and proteins. And minerals, you know that those are also, we need it in a smaller quantity. We need a iron, we need a iodine, we need a calcium, we need a sodium, we need a potassium. These are all the minerals. Okay. So, those also controls our some movements, as well as, you know, so many things in our body. That is why we need them in a lesser quantity. That is why we call those two are micronutrients. Getting my point? Okay then. So, alright, you people have understood there are food constituents in our food, in our nutrients. Those are macro and micronutrients. Macronutrients providing us a energy as well as a body building materials. Micronutrients will help us from so many disorders, preventing so many disorders. Okay, alright. So, we are not discussing in detail about those things here, simply we are discussing how those nutrients will be supplied to the human body. Okay, alright. So, in a human body, in a man, you know that we are following a holozoic mode of nutrition, means we are taking a solid food, we are taking a complex food. That a cell will not want that, cell will not ask such kind of a complex food for their metabolic activity. Cell needs a simple form of energy, simple form of nutrients. That is why there is a system in our body to convert this whole food, this solid food, this complex food into simpler one, and that system itself we call it as a digestive system. Okay. So, what is that? Digestive system. So, digestive system is a system in the human body which helps in the conversion of complex food into simpler absorbable form. Okay. So, let us see how this digestive system will looks actually. What all the organs involved in this system. Okay. Let us see that. Okay. Alright. So, digestive system. I will rub these things because I need little bit more space to draw the digestive system of human being. That is why, see here. This is our nose and this is our mouth, and you can call it as a buccal cavity. The lips are too long, no? Okay. So, from here, and you can see here a food pipe. Food pipe, we call this as the food pipe or esophagus, which pushes the food into our digestive tract. That means a stomach, it may be, right, or small intestine. Okay. So, after this we call this as the esophagus, esophagus, esophagus or food pipe, you can call this as the food pipe. Okay. And here you will find a small, you know, a slit like structure, a lid like a structure which closes the one more pipe just front of the food pipe, that is windpipe, you know that. While swallowing the food, the windpipe has to be closed by this flap, so that food should not move into the windpipe. Food should directly enter into the esophagus only. Okay. So, here we will get a epiglottis. epiglottis will help in the closing of windpipe while swallowing the food, as well as help in the pushing of food into the esophagus or food pipe. Okay. So, here you will find a J shape muscular elastic bag, that you will call it as a stomach, and this stomach, this end is called as cardiac end. That means cardiac end means what? It is near to the heart. Cardia means heart. So, this end of the stomach is near to the heart, that is why this heart end or the first part which starts the stomach, that part we are calling it here as a cardiac end, and this end we call this as the pyloric end. Pyloric end. Okay, and this bag is called as stomach, muscular elastic bag. Okay, that means what our digestive system is having, that I am drawing it here. Okay. Here you will find a biggest internal gland, that is yes, you are right, very good, that is the liver, very good, that is the liver. And this duct is a duct means a pipe which opens into this area, that is called as duct or pipe. So, this pipe we call it as a bile duct. Okay, and a small folding I had shown here, that is gallbladder. Okay, right. So, in many, I will rub this windpipe, it is not necessary, just to make you understand, I drawn that in the beginning. Okay, right. So, in so many competitive exams, they may ask you what is the internal biggest organ or what is the biggest gland inside our body, that is liver only. What is this? Liver. A small folding or folding like structure present in the liver which collects the secretion of liver, that is called as gallbladder, and opens into a pipe, that pipe is called bile duct, bile pipe. Okay. And here just below the stomach you will find a chili like structure, see here. So, that you can call this as the pancreas. What is this? Pancreas. Very good. Next, so here you will find a small intestine which is coiled heavily like this, because its length is long, but its diameter is less. It is long, but it is narrow. Okay. So, in the adults it will be around 6.5 meter. Usually generally we call that 4.5 to 5 meters length that the small intestine is having, whereas in the adults it is around 6.5 meters. Okay. So, this is a small intestine. Okay. Small intestine is a very long coil like structures, that is why. So, it is divided into 3 parts. First part we call this as the duodenum. Okay. Second part is called as jejunum. Okay. Third part we call this as the ileum. Like this, a small intestine is divided into 3 parts. Okay. So, the length of the small intestine in adults is 6.5 meters. In general, we call that 4.5 to 5 meters. Okay. Right then. So it continues here, and you know that a small vestigial organ is there here, that we call it as a vermiform appendix. Okay. So here a large intestine which is smaller in size but wider in diameter. Okay. So this we call this as the large intestine. So I will write these three belongs to the which part? Small intestine. Yes, I will write only SI, small intestine. So this is a large intestine. Large intestine. So you can check the diameter, it is little bit wider as compared to the small intestine. Okay. And even large intestine is also, I will write this part, large intestine is also having the three parts. First one is cecum, second one is colon, third one is rectum. So all three parts are present in the large intestine, remember it. Okay. Here you will find the rectum and opens into the anus. So this end we call it as the anus. Okay. And this part I call this as the vermiform appendix. Vermiform appendix. Okay, vermiform appendix. All right, sir. So totally this pipe, what we will call from the buccal cavity or from the mouth to the anus, we call this pipe as a alimentary canal. Alimentary canal. This pipe is called as alimentary canal. Its length will be 9 meter. The alimentary canals length is 9 meter. In that, only the small intestine itself only is taking more than 50% of the total length. You can see 4.5 to 5 meters, or in adults it will be 6.5 meters. See, 6.5 meters length will be taken by the small intestine itself only. Other organs includes other length. Okay. All right. So these are all the parts of the alimentary canal. All right. So here a complex food is going to convert into simpler one. Okay. Please take down the diagram, and I hope everything is drawn very neatly. Have you taken it down? Even in the book also it is given very clearly, but some parts they may not given, they might have not given. Okay. So you please take down and label the parts also. Okay then. So alimentary canal is 9 meter length. Understood? Then we will start our actual digestion. Okay. What is digestion? A process where a complex food is converted into simple absorbable form. Okay. That we will see. See here, this is called as a mouth or buccal cavity. Mouth or buccal cavity, BC I will write. Okay. MOUTH, mouth or buccal cavity. Right. So our buccal cavity will help us in the first conversion of complex into simpler food. Okay. A buccal cavity or a mouth involves in the digestion first, which helps in the conversion of complex food into simpler one. What all the things we will find in the buccal cavity? First of all, we will find a teeth which help in the cutting and grinding of a food. Second thing, to taste the food, we are having a muscular organ, that is a tongue, and to make the food into wet one, a saliva is needed. That saliva is secreted by 3 pair of, how many? 3 pair of salivary glands. What are glands? Glands are the cell or organ or a tissue which secretes chemicals or which secretes a secretion are called glands. So, here we are having the 3 pair of salivary glands which releases the saliva. One is a parotid gland. You people might have heard about the word called Manganbava. So, that is because of swelling of parotid gland only, swelling of parotid salivary gland only. Okay? So, through which a facial nerves will pass. So, from the brain, from cranial nerves will pass through the parotid gland through the face. Understood? Okay. So, one pair of parotid glands you will find here in the J shape. Here you will find submandibular gland and below the tongue, lingual. Language means it comes from the tongue. Okay. So, tongue is also called as lingual. Sublingual, below the tongue, one more pair, and here you will find here in below this jaw, that is submandibular. Here in J shape you will find that is parotid gland. Totally 3 pair of salivary glands which releases the saliva. Okay, that means here there are some organs which are acting like a machines, like a teeth, tongue. Understood? They are doing like a, they are working like a machine. That's why a digestion is going on in the mouth. That digestion is done by the tongue and teeth is called as a mechanical digestion, and there are some the chemicals releasing in the mouth itself only, buccal cavity itself only, which also helps in digestion of food. That is called as, very good, chemical digestion, mechanical as well as chemical digestion. Okay then. So, simply for your extra knowledge, simply you just catch these points. Understood? Okay. So, when a man takes in the food, that process is called as intake. Okay. Totally he too has to follow 5 steps: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation and egestion. Let us see first intake of food. Food will be taken inside the mouth, then a churning of food or the chewing of food by the teeth. There is a dental formula. You people have studied it in the 8th standard. So, totally in one side if you take, simply just I am rebrushing that point, 2 incisors are there, 2 incisor, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars, 2 1 2 3. This is the 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolar, 3 molars. This we call it as a dental formula. One side I am telling you, upper jaw, same teeth will be there in the 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolar and 3 molar is there in the lower jaw. One side you will find totally 8 plus 8 16 and other side 16, totally 32 teeth. Okay. So, incisors will help in the tearing of food. Okay. Canines will help in the cutting of food. Premolar and molar teeth will help in the grinding of food. See how these teeth are helping us. Understood? Those are very strong, that, which are having a very hard substance on them, that is enamel, which is made by calcium phosphate. Okay, right. So, like this, a teeth will help us in the little bit simplification of complex food. Then a tongue, a muscular organ. This is also a muscular organ. I will draw here like this. You will find the tongue like this, which are having the taste buds like this. You might have seen it when you will completely open your tongue in front of the mirror like this. You will find a big cells, very easily you can identify. So, this cells are called taste buds. Taste buds are there throughout the tongue. in the front you can see taste buds, even in the lateral side you can see taste buds, right, like this. So front part will help you to identify the taste of food, that is sweetness. Here end part, last part of the tongue, which are having a little bit bigger taste buds, those help you to identify the bitter taste of food. Here you will find, or these taste buds will help us to identify the saltiness of the food, whereas these are sourness of the food. Okay, totally these taste buds, these are all cells itself only, which help us to understand or to identify the taste of food. Okay, and along with that, as you know, it simply moves the food from this end to this end, this end to this end, and mixes the food with the saliva. As I told you, there are 3 pair of salivary glands. That salivary glands secretes the saliva, right. So those saliva mixes with our food, and in that tongue will help us, and we will simply grind the food with the help of premolar and molar teeth. So this process we call it as a mastication of food. This process we call it as a mastication of food. So I will rub these things because I want to highlight some enzymes here. Sir, what are enzymes? Simply the chemicals which help in the digestive process. Okay, enzymes are released by the glands, digestive glands, okay, which helps in the conversion of complex food into simpler one. Okay, I simply rub these things, and I will tell you this bile duct and all. This is liver, no? Liver, bile duct. Where is that bile duct? Here only, no? It is bile duct. Okay. Then from the salivary gland we will get an enzyme that is called as amylase. Very good. Amylase. Even the amylase, salivary amylase, is also called as ptyalin. One more name of amylase is ptyalin. P-T-Y, ptyalin. L-I-N-E. Okay. So this amylase will simply convert the, see here, starch, as we discussed in the photosynthesis itself only. The food what we take, the carbohydrates are there in the starch form only. That means in the complexed glucose form, or you can say a polymer of glucose. Okay, that starch will be converted into a little bit simpler form, that is maltose. Okay, starch will be converted into maltose by the enzyme called amylase or ptyalin. Please do remember this. Okay, then this epiglottis will push the semi-solid food. Already it is mixed with the saliva, and now the hard substance, that is solid food, is converted into semi-solid food, and that will be pushed by a epiglottis into the food pipe or esophagus. Here a food will come, that food we call it as a now bolus, a round shape food we call it as a bolus. That bolus will move into the esophagus. Now esophagus simply will not allow the food to directly fall into the stomach. Esophagus will do some contraction and relaxation process here. A wave like process we can find here. That movement of esophagus is called as peristaltic movement. Here it simply contracts and food will come here and it relaxes, and here once again the contraction, food will come here. Like this, a contraction and relaxation of esophagus is called as peristaltic movement that pushes the food into the stomach. Okay. Now the food has come to the stomach in the form of bolus, a semi-solid food. Bolus is a semi-solid food, slightly, that too the starch is slightly converted into, slightly has come to the simpler form, that is maltose. Okay, right. Then in the stomach, this you take down please. I am not having the space here, that is why I will rub so many things when I am writing here. Okay. In the stomach, there are totally 3 enzymes are going to release, 3 chemicals are going to release by a gastric gland. Where do you find the gastric gland? Simply in the inner line of the inner wall of the stomach, we will find some cells here. These cells are called as gastric glands. These gastric glands releases, I will write HCl, mucus, is it visible? Pepsin, then renin. Like this, 4 enzymes or 4 chemicals are secreted by the gastric gland, and these all together we call it as a gastric juice. Okay. If they ask you name the gastric juice, write all these 4: HCl, mucus, pepsin and renin. Then we will see the function of all these things, all these chemicals. Okay. First we will see the mucus. You know, it is a slimy liquid which covers the inner wall of a stomach. Why, sir? Why it has to cover? Because a gastric juice also contains HCl whose pH is 1.2. A very strong acid is going to released by gastric gland, so that a inner wall should not burn. That is the reason mucus simply protects the inner wall simply by, you know, by covering it. Understood? Okay. So this HCl, mucus function is over. This HCl simply kills so many harmful bacteria which have entered through the food. Okay, that is first function. Write down the function of HCl. Kills the microorganisms enter through the food. Second thing, activates the pepsin. Without acid medium, pepsin will not work. Okay, pepsin will not work. Okay then. So HCl simply activates the pepsin. Pepsin work is, see the address, you can see pepsin. The name pep means it will act on the protein. Okay. So simply it converts the pepsin will converts the protein into peptones. A little bit simpler form, not so many simpler form. Okay. I will tell you the end or a very simplest form of protein, we will see it in the digestive system itself only. End product of a carbohydrate, end product of protein, end product of fat, all these 3 macronutrients, end product, we will see it now. Okay. Right then. So pepsins are converted into peptones. Proteins are converted into peptones by the enzyme called pepsin, and it always works in the acidic medium only. That is why HCl is simply released in the stomach and activates the pepsin. Then what about the renin, sir? So if you might have taken a milk, then that one is also converted into little bit simpler form. that is curd form, not exactly you can call that is a conversion of curd, a coagulation of milk, little simplest form, you can call a lactose. Okay, little simplest form will be done by the renin. So these four are the gastric juices. Name the gastric juices. These are the gastric juices. Functions of these four gastric juices, as I told you just now, write all those things. Okay, right. I will rub now these things, and next I will move on to the next part. What is that? From here to here food has to come. So sir, how many hours actually the food remains in the stomach? 3 to 4 hours. This semi-solid food will be converted into a soup-like structure. So kaima we call that. We call that as a kaima. Okay, this is converted into a semi-solid food is converted into a bolus is converted into kaima, a soup-like structure. Okay, then so the food remains there in the stomach for 3 to 4 hours. That's why keep the time gap between one meal to another meal. At least 3 hours we have to keep the time gap. Understood? Okay. So then food enters into the pyloric end or duodenum, first part of small intestine. So that time, see here, these glands 1 and 2, these glands will also contribute in the digestive system, in the digestion. Okay. So what are the role of these two glands? Simply liver will releases a bile juice and bile salt. Bile salt are also called as carbonate ions, CO3 minus, carbonate ions. So what are the functions of these two juices, sir? Bile salt, you know already the food has converted into a acidic one because of the acid is mixed with the food in the stomach. So further pancreas is going to release some enzymes. So those enzymes will work in the alkaline condition, not in the acidic condition. That's why, so this acidic food has to be converted into alkaline. That work is done by the bile salt or the carbonate ions. Okay, please take down. A role of or a function of bile salt is conversion of acidic food into alkaline one. Okay, that is over. Then bile juice. Bile juice simply it converts the bigger fatty molecules into smaller fatty molecules. This process we call it as a emulsification of fat emulsification. Okay. So these two juices are stored in the bile duct itself, in the gallbladder itself only, and then it will be secreted through the bile duct into the duodenum. Understood? Food will not go into the liver, I tell you. Simply the secretion are secreted by the liver and stored in the gallbladder. Then gallbladder will release these juices through the bile duct into the duodenum, into the first part of small intestine. Understood? Okay, the functions of these two things I told you. Emulsification of fat, I think you people have understood, done by the bile juice. Okay, right. So I am moving little fast now because we are at the end of the digestion right now. And pancreas, the role of pancreas, it also releases some enzymes. Okay, some enzymes. One is, trypsin. Second one is pancreatic lipase. So in the stomach, you people might have already studied the pepsin. Here it secretes a trypsin. See, the pepsin and trypsin, the address matches the same. That means even functions or its action on the food constituent is on same. That means on the proteins itself only it will act. Now here in the stomach, pepsin converts the protein into peptones. This trypsin converts that peptones into peptides, even little bit smaller, little bit simpler form of protein. Okay, then pancreatic lipase, as we just saw that a bigger fatty molecules are converted into smaller one, and that is called as emulsification of fat done by the bile juice. Done by the bile juice, those small fatty molecules are converted into fatty acid and glycerol. Okay, so that means all these functions will not carry in the pancreas itself, simply the pancreas will release these enzymes into the duodenum, a first part of small intestine. Then all these enzymes will move into the small intestine. Even small intestine itself also releases some enzymes. Again and again I am using the hormone word, I don't know why, but remember, in the digestive system the chemical releases helps in the chemical digestion, that means helps in the complete digestion of food. Those are enzymes only, those chemicals are enzymes only. Okay, then small intestine also releases some enzymes, because small intestine, see here I will draw, also having a glands in them. Okay, also having the glands in them, and we call these are succus entericus. These glands releases the enzymes, those are maltase, then epipsin, okay, then lipase, then lactase. So maltase will convert the maltose into, where we had seen it in the mouth itself, by the salivary amylase a starch is converted into maltose. That maltose will be converted into glucose by this enzyme which is secreted by the small intestine. And epipsin, just as we seen, pepsin, trypsin and epipsin, all three enzymes will act on one food constituent, that is protein itself. Here the peptides are converted into a very simplest form of protein, that is amino acids. A means amino acids. Simplest form of protein. This is simplest form of glucose. Simplest means what, sir? Simplest in the sense a food is absorbed by the blood or cells. That form is called as the simplest form of food. And what about the lipase? Already pancreatic lipase has converted a smaller fatty globules into fatty acids and glycerol, and even some, if is there any smaller fatty molecules left out, those fatty molecules are converted into fatty acids and glycerol by the lipase. Finally, lactase will convert the coagulated milk into galactose. Once again, a simple sugar. Okay, so like this, a complete digestion we will see in the small intestine. Then if a question comes, the site of complete digestion, that is small intestine only. Okay, then so far we have discussed that ingestion, that is intake of food, and the digestion. Two steps we have studied. The third step, that is absorption. See here, in the small intestine itself only, there are some finger like projections like this, finger like projections you can find in the small intestine, finger like projections. We call these finger like projections are villi. Why these finger like projections are present there? Simply to increase the surface area of absorption. The foldings if you are finding in the human body, that is simply because to increase the surface area. Here also to increase the surface area of absorption, the foldings we are finding, a finger like projections we are finding, those are all villi. Understood? Okay. So these villi starts absorbing. These are supplied by tough capillaries, bunches of blood capillaries. Okay. The absorbed food will move into the bloodstream. Okay. What are those absorbed food? The simplified food, that is glucose, amino acids and fatty acids. Getting my point? Okay then. So then food will be absorbed as we just discussed. So 3 steps now: ingestion, digestion, now absorption is over. After the absorption, the food will be supplied to all the cells of the body. All the cells will make use of that food in the metabolic activity, and that we call it as a assimilation. Now we will move on to the digestion. What is that? A undigested food. All the food what we will take will not be digested by the digestive system. There is some undigested food which comes here into the cecum part, into the colon part. Here, even in the cecum part and the colon part, you will find a projections, villi we can call them also, finger like projections, those are also villi. So which absorbs some salts and water molecules from the undigested food and makes the food into a little bit semi-solid one. I am sorry, little bit semi-solid one. Like this, food will come after absorbing some water and some salts from it. Food will come and stores in the which part? Rectum for some time. Later, it will be thrown out by the anus in the form of stool or fecal matter. Understood? That is called as egestion. Understood? So that's all about the anatomy and the physiology. Anatomy of digestive system, physiology of digestive system we have discussed simultaneously. Understood? And please do remember all the enzymes, very helpful. Even if you go to the second PUC, there also you will study some things about it. It will help you there also. Understood? Okay. And one more point, in the digestive system, most commonly the disorder what we will find is peptic ulcers. Here a stomach is going to release the HCl, which is a strong acid having a pH of 1.2, you know that it is a strong and concentrated one. So if your food habit is irregular and you are not taking the food in time, that makes that causes so many peptic ulcers in the stomach. Getting my point? Okay. So that's why take the food always in the regular time only. Understood? Okay. So that's the way how we people will supply nutrients to each and every cell, so that each and every cell should get energy, and from that we can work, from that each cell will work, from that each cell has to divide. Totally the metabolic activity should carry on in each cell. Understood? Okay, so that's all about the nutrition human being, and even we have discussed nutrition in amoeba also. Okay, I think you people have understood this very clearly. So if so, one more time I want you people to go through the book also, and we will meet you in the next video with a new concept in the same lesson, that is life process, that is respiration. Till then, take care. Jai Hind. Bye bye.